majority of it comes from people like themselves.
But within your own community, it's people who should be standing shoulder to shoulder with you are the ones that are putting the knife into your back.
Absolutely, it's absolutely ludicrous. I think what else is good to touch base on is, yes, we're broadcasting from Scotland this evening. We're broadcasting from the PO Community Hub, but we will be including a lot to do with kind of Northern Ireland and their politics and our kind of fellow community over there. A lot of the issues that we'll be talking about on our politics shows, panel debate shows, and so on. There will be a lot of content regarding Northern Ireland on there because, as I can see by the statistics, we do have a lot of listeners from Northern Ireland. Hello to yourself.
The thing is, what we really, hopefully, the PUL community in the west of Scotland will be able to learn from the PUL community in Northern Ireland, because they have been getting sold down the river left, right and centre. Every day of the week they're getting sold down the river. And we've got to make sure that we are cognizant of these facts and we know what we can do to countermand them when they try to bring legislation into this country.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is there's just I think the main thing that we need to kind of get into everyone's head is there needs to be unity within this community. And without unity in the PO community, this community is going nowhere. It can't move forward. The only way it can go is backwards. And right now, my personal opinion only, many may not share my opinion on it, and in my opinion only, I would say the PUL community in Scotland alone is in a sorry state of affairs. And it can be easily fixed. Only if unity comes into play. Without unity in this community in Scotland, this community will continue being dormant. It will continue being kind of a doormat for the press just to come and kind of scribble whatever they want about it. There will be absolutely no bite coming back from it. Just my opinion, Ian.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, but it's going back to what I said a few minutes ago, is there's so many people in our own community are starting to believe the big bad proddy myth. Look what they're saying in the paper, look what's happening. There was one instance, if you remember last year, I can't remember when it was last year, but do you remember the story about the sectarian dog? No, seriously, that got full front page coverage for 3 days. It got to the stage where they actually interviewed Frank McAvenny, of all people. I mean, it's a good job I said before the watershed, because I could get him on this. Frank McAvenny was asked to comment upon it. Now, this was a dog. There was no coverage, there was no photographs of it happening, there was no CCTV in the bus, there was nothing, and it kept going and going. And then 6 months later, the dog's died, and they've got a full page spread about the dog's funeral. And then there was a young boy, 10-year-old boy, the last Rangers Celtic game, somebody burst the door of the van open, threw a bottle in and split him wide open. And there was a little, tiny little bit in the paper for one day. Pass on, sweep, move on, nothing to see here, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
But that poor sectarian dog.
I know. It was a very funny story.
I'm making light of it, but I'm just trying to sort of poke fun at it to let people see the seriousness of it.
Yeah.
There's a disparity. Disparity is happening day on day on day. You've got the same sort of thing. Somebody within the PUL community is charged with one thing and they get the maximum sentence. Somebody from the dark side, a very similar thing, they get next to nothing. And then, you start complaining about it and they come up with the same stock answer all the time. Every case is judged on its own merits and we're not prepared to comment.
Yeah. I mean, I think another thing, and this was actually mentioned to me this morning, and I had actually forgotten all about it. I dare say the majority of people listening forgot all about it as well. There was a tiny thing in the newspaper one night after one of these terror fests down at the Barrowlands in Glasgow. And it sounded as if there was shots fired and the police were investigating and things. There was no follow-up story to that.
That's correct. I remember reading that myself.
Yeah, and it was only brought up to me this morning in a quick conversation. And, I'm saying it works when the media blank things or they refuse to kind of follow up on the stories that they've printed, we forget about it quite easily as well. And I think that's a big thing that maybe many of us should stop doing. Maybe many of us should kind of keep on following up on these chases.
Here's the ideal platform to beat the drum, Chris. Here is the ideal platform to beat the drum, and at the risk of repeating yourself, come on here every night and talk about it.
Absolutely, I mean, at the end of the day, we do have we've got the phone number there. People can call in, and we can have a very good kind of chat with them, hear their opinions. And I think this is what I'm looking forward to the most is potentially kind of next week when we've got the kind of first panel show on, and we can hear a whole range of people from all different backgrounds within the PL community engaging together, sharing their opinions, having a quick debate, a quick clash of opinions even. And I think that is going to be really good for the community to hear, even have our listeners phone in. Because engaging with other people within the community, hearing their opinions, it could maybe change yours, alter yours a little bit. I think that's absolutely ideal. I think people need to kind of learn from each other because this community is absolutely great. I mean, in terms of the older heads in the community, these guys hold knowledge. I'm a big believer in kind of knowledge should always be passed on. You see all these kind of older heads. Once these older heads are gone. The knowledge goes with them. So I think we definitely need to kind of get the opinions flowing on here, get kind of a lot of history shared, a lot of kind of personal stories shared on there, so people can carry them on. I'm just a big believer in sharing your stories, sharing their opinions, maybe alter the opinions of others if they're incorrect, so on and so forth.
Yes, I mean, what you've got to remember is people of a certain vintage, and I will put myself in there as well. The political correctness really does stymie me quite a bit, sort of thing. I've really got to work hard on the political correctness. Because I've told a story once before, and we don't know if it's a true story or we don't know if it's an apocryphal story, but years and years ago, my uncle was in the tournaments. And at that time, nobody had anything, and there was always, community. So the door got knocked. They went to the door, and there was a priest with a couple of sort of, how would you say, members of the other community. And the priest said to him, "Could you spare a shilling to bury a good Catholic man?" And this is a story. I don't know whether it's true. My uncle went in and he gave him £1. He said, "They're £1, bury 20 of them." Now. If you to do that nowadays, and I'm quoting that as a story, I'm just listening, this is an apocryphal story that was told about my uncle, I can believe it was true, because I know what it was like. And if you had to say something like that now, you can guarantee within 20 minutes the cops are going to be jumping your door.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's almost like a democratic dictatorship, if you will. We have freedom of speech in this country, but it's only freedom of speech until someone says that they don't agree with it.
Well, Stephen Fry says that just because you're offended doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean it shouldn't be getting said.
Yeah, I mean, does that then mean to say that we may as well say that there isn't freedom of speech? To be fair, because for instance, if you're at the football, right, supporting any team, and you're singing away, the coppers come up and detain you, get you under arrest, and say that you've said something you weren't allowed to say, then that's technically it's not freedom of speech, is it? Technically.
Well, the knee-jerk reaction that this country's famous for, if you remember the knee-jerk reaction they had with the dangerous dog breeds, bang, 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 boom, boom, let's get all the dangerous dogs, and the legislation just not fit for purpose. The Offensive Behaviour at Football Act not fit for purpose.
Yeah.
And this is just knee-jerk reaction.
There's a case just now going on where there's a couple of cases going on just now about this Offensive Behaviour at Football Act. And I think what needs to happen is every time there's a not guilty plea that goes through and the accused are found not guilty or it gets thrown out of court and things, these really need to be highlighted. Because too many people are just kind of big sigh of relief, they've got away with it, and they're going home. I think every time there is something if you're walking out of court that's been found not guilty and things, these things need to be highlighted because this act is a sham.
I'll put something to you then, Chris. I'll put something to you. If you get arrested or and charged,
yes,
at the next football game for singing something out, what's classified as religious or racial or whatever, homophobic, anything like that. We then, what's the first thing that happens to you? You get a banning order. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So it's not really innocent until proven.
So how is Leigh Griffiths, who is still not been, he's never been taken to court, but he has been charged, how is he managing to play football? Should he not get a banning order banning him from every football stadium in the country?
Well, without kind of going into that kind of side, I don't know too much about that kind of individual story. But you have touched on something that I've got kind of gripe with. So if you're going into court, you're pleading not guilty, you've got bail, then you get faced with a banning order. That individual has been punished without being found guilty, and I've got a serious problem with this. Because if you are pleading not guilty because genuinely you are not guilty, you have not committed a crime, should you then be made to suffer? If you've got a season ticket for your chosen club, you've paid hundreds of pounds for it, you work hard all week, you look forward to going to support your team at the weekend, you then fall into the hands of the law because the law has got it wrong, should you then be punished? Even though you've pleaded not guilty and you've got bail. If you're found guilty, then absolutely. Then you go, there's a banning order.
Yes, no. I mean, if they're putting it down, now let's right. Okay, the legislation's the legislation. You've got a banning order, and that's it. There's nothing we can do about it. My question is how come a player playing for Celtic who has been charged with this offence is allowed into the stadium every week to play football?
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, it kind of goes on to the Anthony Stokes thing, but I don't want to go on too much about these because we have a show on Monday, and I think it'd be ideal.
The reason I'm bringing it up, I'm not doing this to just sort of talk about Rangers. This is me hitting the disparity thing.
Yeah, but I think it would be very good to kind of not play kind of show our hand at this early stage, because I think the show on Monday is going to be very interesting when we're talking about all these kind of all these Celtic individuals and kind of what they're getting away with.
I think Monday you've got a game on Monday, so you're going to be talking about the football. Hopefully we're going to be talking about the football. If this is going to be the Rangers, we're going to be talking about
We've got a caller coming through just now. I mean, what I'll do is we'll take a wee quick break. We'll put on a wee song just now, and then we'll come back and we'll see what the caller's phoning up for.
Okay then.
You're listening to PUL Community Radio. Music, news, debates, banter, and views. Call now on 0141 416 1690. PUL Community Radio. Putting the unity back in community.
Behold, the crimson banner flows o'er yonder torrent hoary. It tells of days of mighty note, and there is deathless glory. When her brave sons undaunted stood and battled to defend her, indignant streamed oppression's flood and sang like no surrender. And here's to the boys that fear no noise and never will surrender. The gates we close against our foes on the 18th of December. While Derry's walls were firm and strongly fenced in every quarter, each frowning bastion grim along, with culverin and with mortar. But Derry had a surer guard than all the art could lend her. Her prentice hearts the gates were barred and sang like no surrender. And here's to the boys that fear no noise and never will surrender. The gates we close against our foes on the 18th of December. Again when treason mad and run and rebels hordes were swarming, where Derry's sons are foremost found for king and country arming. And forth they rushed at honour's call, from age to boyhood tender, again to man their virgin wall and sang like no surrender. And here's to the boys that fear no noise and never will surrender. The gates we close against our foes on the 18th of December. Long may the crimson banner wave, a meteor streaming airy, portent his of the free and brave, command the walls of Derry. And Derry's some elect defend, oh traitor or pretender, and ringed heaven their bent cry, their patriot no surrender. And here's to the boys that fear no noise and never will surrender. The gates we close against our foes on the 18th of December. The day before the July fair, the ribbon men they did prepare for 3 miles round to wreck and tear and burn the town.